go. Hello, we're back. We're now, I think it's step, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I think it might be step 7 or 8. Sorry, can't remember. And we're doing the second part of the climax. The climax is such an important scene that I just wanted to spend a little bit more time with it so you really understand what you're shooting for. Because really what makes it so much easier, what I found as the plot whisperer when I consult with writers and screenwriters and novelists and memoirists, is that those who sort of know what the end is going to vaguely be about have a much easier time staying on track because they know where they're headed. And yes, you have to stay very fluid because the story starts to tell itself, but it really is helpful if you know where you're headed. And the climax is what determines where you're headed. It's the highest point energetically in the entire story. So everything in the story is building to this moment. And we'll go into how the beginning and how the middle help support the climax. But for now, I just want you to start to really think more deeply about the character emotional development, the dramatic action, and the thematic significance. Because up until this point, we have not spoken about the definition of plot at all. And I've sort of done that deliberately because I didn't want to scare you away. But plot really is a series of scenes. You know, all the dramatic action takes place in scene, moment by moment. And so plot is the series of all these scenes lined up in a story together that are deliberately arranged by cause and effect, which we'll spend a whole session on, making sure that the scenes feel organic, that one scene is coming from the scene that came before, and that they're building together. And all of these are deliberately arranged to create dramatic action. Action just alone is not as effective as dramatic action, which means that the character is being challenged, that there's conflict, tension, and suspense in every single scene. Will she get what she wants in life or won't she? Is she getting closer to her dreams or further away? So that when you think about the climax, you're thinking about, will she get what she wants, or will she have learned that that's not exactly what she really does want, and she'll come to climax with a different sensibility and a different set of hopes and dreams and goals. And what you want is that the dramatic action will challenge the character enough that they will go through a transformation. At the best, transformation happens to the character. At the least, the character is changed. So at least have the character be changed in some way by the dramatic action by the end of the project. Or, what's all that dramatic action there for? I mean, what's the purpose of it except to affect the transformation in the character at a deep and profound level? And when that happens, when the dramatic action affects the character emotional development to the point of transformation, the story means something. Thematically, the story takes on a richness, and it's thematically powerful because you're giving a message of, you know, what the dramatic action, the effect it has on the character, and what that means overall. So what you want is at this last climax, at the highest point in the story so far, which is either the last chapter, the second to the last chapter, or the second to the last scene. It happens right at the end of the story. You want to think about, where do you want your character to be? And what do you want them to have at the end? And who are they confronting in order to get that? Who is their greatest foe beyond themselves? And when you do that, you want to show an ultimate mastery of the character over themselves and the world around her. So you want this scene to be a big scene that will happen. And it has to happen right at the end. If you wait too long, if you have it happen too soon, and you have a bunch of other things that you have to sort of tie together at the end, you're going to lose your reader. Because after the climax, all the energy is over. The energy drops. So the energy that you have been carefully building is over as soon as the climax hits. So you want to resolve your story and bring it to closure as quickly as you can after the climax. So, for today, I just want you to, again, to think of the final quarter of the project. It's when the characters become conscious of how they're interfering with their own life and their own goals and hopes and dreams, and then they start to come up, the action rises to the highest point. I brought my book today, Blockbuster Plots Pure and Simple. All of these concepts are in this book. They're also on my blog, The Plot Whisperer. They're also on my website, Blockbuster Plots for Writers, where there are DVDs and other things to support you. Because the climax can be confusing, but once you get it, it really helps you know what you're shooting for and what your story is truly all about. Thanks for visiting.